Never mind the programs the Liberals spend on, although that is offensive enough to the beleaguered taxpayer. There is also the way they spend our tax dollars without even a shrug. There's former interior designer turned health minister Patty Hajdu, flying home to Thunder Bay on military aircraft, where she is often the only passenger on the plane. Cost to the taxpayers? Over $76,000 that we know about. A business class ticket on Air Canada from Ottawa to Thunder Bay is only $710 each way, infinitely cheaper, and she still keeps her pampered. Then there's the money they have spent on renovating Minister's office. In 2019 alone, they spent huge on making sure their tushies were comfortable. Shortly after they came to power, they spent $835,000 to set up offices for former Infrastructure Minister Amarjeet Sohi and his deputy minister. $450,734 of that sum was for Sohi's office alone. You could buy a pretty nice home in the capital region for that kind of money. The excuses for why it was done just shows their bureaucracy's disdain for the taxpayer. They don't seem to understand the taxpayer is limited. The taxpayer that funds everything, government, is made up of the private sector and those who work in the private sector. They treat the private sector as a bottomless money pit. The latest is the information coming out of Rideau Hall, the office and official residence of the Governor General Julie Payette, a former astronaut. Evidently, she wanted to spend $250,000 for upgrades to Rideau Hall to enhance her demands for privacy. If privacy was such a big issue for her, then why did she take such a high-profile public position? I don't have an issue with the National Capital Commission spending taxpayer dollars for repairs to Rideau Hall. It is an expansive, beautiful mansion. It is a National Historic Site, situated on exquisitely groomed 79 acres with a labyrinth of flowers and walking paths. It even has a royal bedroom for the Queen when she visits. I don't know if there still does, but back in the day it had a gold-plated telephone beside the Queen's bed. Back when I was on the protection detail, Jules Leger was the Governor General. He'd had a stroke some months earlier and was never quite right after that. We used to get calls several times a week that he had gone for a walk in the garden and was missing. Usually it was because he just got confused and couldn't find his way back to the mansion. It was on one such search that I had the opportunity to meet former Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, who was walking his dog just in behind Rideau Hall. He was older then, but he still maintained his infectious sense of humor and regaled us with stories of political battles won and lost. In short, Rideau Hall is a special place for Canadians and needs to be periodically upgraded. The Governor General holds an annual levy for any Canadian to attend and walk the gardens and rub elbows with the GG and the politicians who attend. It's a very public position. But as this GG wanted her privacy protected, even from her staff and the RCMP who work in the protection detail and escort her everywhere, evidently she wanted to come and go without anyone seeing her. Apparently, among the renos Payette wanted was for a new door to a private stairwell for her cats to go outside. For her cats! This was then changed to a new private stairwell added to the historic building, with all the problems that, in itself, entailed. Heck, I'd dig deep and fork over $10 for a litter box for her to save $250,000 taxpayer dollars. Payette was an accomplished astronaut with over 600 hours in space on 2 separate missions, but it would seem she is also very hard to work for. There are many reports of her creating a toxic workspace, often berating staff and even construction workers working on the jobs that she herself wanted done. Perish the thought someone with a hard hat and safety boots would come into her view. It would seem she is yet another typical liberal, entitled and haughty, and she wants you and I to pay the freight. For True North, I'm Leo Knight.